So today we're going to discuss the fundamentals of solar. If we look about the agenda that how we're going to go ahead, we will start by the overview of solar, which will tell that what is solar, how it is used, why it is used, and generally what are the situations where you need to use solar. Then we'll proceed ahead with the features that solars provide us. What type of functionality we can use with solar. Then the question, do I really need to use solar or are there any other things available? Then the usage, how do we use that? Then we'll come to the practical session where we'll see how to install Apache Solr. Then we'll set it up on our local machine. We'll configure it, and when everything is right, we'll check the status, and then we'll move ahead to some basic queries of Solr. Now starting with the Apache Solr. So the overview is that what Apache Solr is. In the current situation, the data available on any website, data available with any company has increased from megabytes to gigabytes to terabytes. Whenever you have a big data, whenever you have huge data, there is a need to search for it. For an example, you go to Amazon.com, you go to Flipkart.com, and in the search text you enter shoes from Nike. By specifying that, you are asking the website to go ahead and give you a list of shoes that are available from Nike. Now what internally happens is, if I talk about the legacy systems, with every application, with every website, there is a database associated, or we also known it as RDBMS. RDBMS is good for the OLTP processing. Now if you know what OLTP is, then OLTP is the transactional data. You have users, you have logs, you have their history, you want to fetch out some specific needful information for you by joining some tables and do a lot of stuff. Yes, searching is another option which can be done with RDBMS. But whenever there is a searching, and since your data is normalized, in RDBMS, data is in normalized form. It may be 1NF, it may be 2NF, 3NF, 4NF, it depends. So if you are working in a big organization, the data is normalized up to, I think, 8 or 9 levels. So when you join the data and you get the value out of it, it takes time to process. But in today's competitive environment, you cannot have much time searching or looking for a data. So to overcome this problem, a search engine was created. This search engine was known as Apache Lucene. But Lucene was something which was meant for one single session. Also, there was no REST support. And why I am talking about REST is because now you don't only visit websites using the desktop, you visit them using your phone. Now since it is a phone, it might be an Android application, it might be a Windows phone, or else it might be a iOS device. So in any case, those clients will communicate with the search engine or the search server using the HTTP protocol. And whenever a client connects to the HTTP to the Solr with the HTTP protocol or the web server with the HTTP protocol, it is known as the REST. So a new solution after the Lucian problems was found out. This solution was known as Solr. Now what is it all about? Is that Apache Solr is a standalone full text search server with Apache Lucian at the backend. Yes, Lucian was never out of the picture, but now it is behind the curtain. That curtain is Solr. That interface is Solr. You need to interact with the Solr, and then Solr will internally interact with the Lucian for you and find out the data. So the underlying architecture has never been changed, but the adapter was created, and that adapter is Solr. Now why there is so much hype over Solr? Now Lucian is a high performance full featured text search engine library. What does it mean? There are certain fancy terms like high performance, full featured text search engine and all that. Now bearing this thing in mind when I say text search engine, because whenever you look for something, you look for a text, you look for a character, you look for an array of characters, string technically. So this text can be anything. This text can be anything that you're looking on a website. This text can be anything that you're looking on Google. You type something, and the moment you start typing, it starts giving you suggestions. If you have been to an e-commerce site, you go to flipkart.com, and the moment you type, it starts giving you a suggestion onto a drop down. You can select either any of them, or else you can write your own character. So this Solr is actually, or this Lucian is actually a document based search engine. Now why I am forcing upon the document based is whenever you look for or whenever you search for a text in a document, it's comparatively much faster than the RDBMS, or roughly 10 times. Since the data is present in a flat file format, you don't need to do any join, you don't need to go ahead with any other fancy stuff, you just need to look for a text, and the moment Solr or Lucian engine receives this text, it initiates a request handler. Though it is a bit technical and we'll look into that soon, but just giving you an idea. Now let me just go ahead and tell you what are the certain features that Solr provides. Now the very first thing is full text search. Now text search, we easily can understand the text search, that there is a text, we search for it, and the Solr should go ahead, search for it, and then give me back the data. But what does this term full says here? Full text search means, let's say I want to search the words which are lookalike to my word. Lookalike means beside and besides. There's only a difference of S. So I wanted to look for all the words. There can be a scenario where I am saying I want to look for all the antonyms of it. I wanted to look for the synonyms of it. Yes, this thing can be possible with Solr. And that's what full says. Full means you can do a whole lot of tweaks with the text and you will ultimately get the data. Then we have faceted navigation. Now this search faceted or faceted is very helpful nowadays. Take an example, you go to olx.in, you want to have a cupboard or almirah. In the search box you entered almirah. The moment you enter almirah, a lot of suggestions or a lot of bids will come up. But on the left hand side, if you go ahead, if you want this, let me just give you an example what I'm trying to say. Say OLX.in. Okay, it's there. Let's say I look for, okay, cool, mobile. See this? This was the thing what I was talking about. The moment you hit enter, it starts giving you recommendations, suggestions. Now here, there are a lot of phones available. If you can see here, I have a filter. Price from, price to, most recent. Now what happens is that, can you see these filters? Mobile phones, tablets, accessories. Is the type of text that you look for, these filters will be customized as per those text. Let me give you another example. We go to Flipkart, or you can say Snapdeal. You search for anything like air cooler. These suggestions are still there. I search for it. And the moment I search for it, on the left hand side, this, you can see this brand, this price is common, of course. Discount will be common. But this type will be based on the product being searched over here. This is facketed search. It means that the data which is being sent from the search engine will have certain specific type of data. Search engine will also provide us the facketing options. Facketing options means what type of data does it contain? What are the brands available? You can see the type. This is facketed search, which changes as per the text being searched upon. Now, I've already shown you this recommendation or related search. Related search is something when you go to a description of an item after searching for it, there are other suggestions which are from the website which says that other people searched this with this, item X with Y. They searched air cooler with AC. That's how recommendation work. So these all things are possible with Solr. Then we have spell suggest, autocomplete. Spell suggest is a very simple thing. You just start writing something and it will show you what it may be. It has its own dictionary. All the words which were searched onto the Solr, it indexed them, and using that index, it shows you the suggestions. And when it is showing recommendation in the drop down, you can use the autocomplete. You select it and you hit enter. So the entire text which was shown as a recommendation will be sent to Solr for query. Then we have custom document ranking or ordering. Now what do I mean to say by the document is because Solr is a text-based search engine and it stores everything in the form of document. And those documents can have related data. So those documents can be ranked or can be ordered depending on your usage. You can, because by default in RDBMS, whenever you create a primary key on a table, it sorts the data based on the ID, primary key, in the ascending format. But what if you want to sort it using the price? You need to create a query for that. But in Solr, you can do that in the document itself. Solr gives you the functionality. So the documents will be ordered on the basis of the sort you provide. It may be an ascending sort or it may be a descending sort based on 1 or 2 or 3 or n number of columns. Then we have a very good feature which is known as snippet generation or highlighting. Snippet generation or highlighting is, let's say you searched for a particular text and you wanted to know that in my search result, what are the positions or in how many documents does this particular text is all about. So I'll go for this snippet generation or highlighting. We'll look into that in practical mode. Proceeding ahead, now there is a need which comes up, that why do I need to go ahead with Solr? As I've already mentioned you, it's not only you who is studying the Solr, it's not only me who is working on Solr. A whole lot of bunch of people are already working on Solr. Every e-commerce site in the industry today is making use of Solr. Why? I've just shown you. Because you need to search for. Nobody wants to go into the categories and then browse it one by one and then look for the particular product. Nobody has that much time. You just need to enter for a particular product and you just want it right away. On the hit of the enter. That's when you need Solr. You want greater control over your website search. Then we have caching. Yes, you can cache the data. Whenever a sale happens on websites like on Flipkart, they had a sale over Xiaomi Red MI phone or the Xiaomi Mi3 phone. What did they do? The document which contained the information about the Red MI phone or the Mi3 phone was cached into the memory. So whenever any request comes, it was able to handle that very quickly. Then we have replication. Replication means repetition. You don't want your one product to be repeated. You don't want your one product to be replicated into multiple documents, into multiple categories. That can be done using replication. Then we have distributed search. Since you will never have only one application server where there is a Solr available. In the enterprise, you will have a setup of Solr servers. You will have at least 3. So that multiple requests can be handled at the same time, because every server has its own capability to handle the requests. The distributed search comes into role play. First you will have a balance loader, load balancer, LB. The moment the request comes, it will look for that which Solr instance can be used for that. Then it will send it to that. Now this Solr can have the data, because of course whenever I am saying document, it needs to store it somewhere, and Solr stores it into the data. But this data can be distributed. You can say that I have created one dedicated server for the mobile phones only, because nowadays everybody search for the mobile phones a lot. Then you can say that yes, I have created one another dedicated server which contains the data only related to the clothes. So the moment request comes to the Solr, now the Solr engine knows where the clothes data reside and where the mobile data resides and where the other data resides. So the search is now distributed among different servers. It will redirect the search request to that particular dedicated server. Now the next point is really fast indexing or searching. See, I intentionally put a really with triple L. Why is it so? It's because you actually, it's the fact, you need fast search. You need the fast index, and that is the core of the Solr. Indexing is very simple. You have a document available, you insert it into the Solr, and then you have placed it onto your data folder into the Solr. Now you want to index it. Now why indexing is important? Because if you don't index something, the data is stored in the heap. You don't know whether a particular value belongs to that document or not. And you might never be able to get that out. So there's a need to index it so that Solr, because Solr first look into the index and that it goes ahead to look for the document. Then we have the great admin interface can be used over HTTP. Yes. To maintain Solr, it gives you a very good, very rich web interface. You don't need to go into the XML files, into the configuration file. Solr gives you a web document interface using which you can run your queries, you can upload the documents, you can get the response out of it, you can do a whole lot of stuff. Then of course the support. If you're a developer, you must know it pretty well. Whenever there is an open source item available, and yes, I forgot to tell you that the Solr is open source. So whenever there is an open source item available like ActiveMQ, like Linux, like anything, you need a community. You need a community which can solve your problems. You need a community so that you are updated with the new additions that happens in Solr. So very big community, you can join that and you can receive the updates. Then we have the integration with various other products like Drupal, CMS, etc. You can associate your Solr with the existing products. You don't need to create a separate product to work with Solr. If you're working with Drupal, you can directly communicate with Solr. Now moving ahead, now where Solr is being used, as I've already mentioned, it is of the much use to the e-commerce sites. Then you have blog sites. Then you have CMS. CMS are content management systems like SharePoint, where you upload the data and then you look for that, you search for that. Heavily used by LinkedIn, Twitter, CNET. I don't need to explain these terms to you. You might be very well versed about this. And then yes, many of them contribute back. They joined the community. They helped in becoming Solr what it is right now. Okay, so we'll go ahead with installation. We'll see if there is any minimum requirements, then where this index file gets stored, where the configuration files are located at. We'll look into that. Installation is pretty easy, and there's no such rocket science in that. Go ahead into the Solr Google. It's a very simple thing to look for. Go for Solr. Sorry. Go for Solr. And you will see the very first link, the lucian.apache.org/Solr. Click on that. Okay. So this is the home page of Solr, which tells you a lot of information about it, that who has worked on with Solr, Go, Best Buy, AOL, they all work with Solr. Okay. You click on download. You come here. You need to go to the releases. Here you will automatically be redirected. Now you can choose any of the mirrors. There are a lot of mirrors available. You use this. Since it is of around 150 MB, so I've already downloaded that. Let me just show it to you. Oops. Okay. So here I have Solr 5.1.0. That's what you need to download. The moment you download it, you will receive a zip file. You need to unzip it. Now if I talk of meanwhile while it extract the contents of Solr zip file, let me just tell you what are the minimum requirements. There is no such big minimum requirements for that. It's a very small setup. You need to have 1 GB of RAM. It's enough. You need to have 200, 300 MB of free space to use that. See, 189 MB. So 200, 300 MB is more than enough for the initial setup. I'll just copy it. I'll go to the C drive. I've created a Solr name folder and I'll paste it here. No, it's not mandatory. This zip content can be, this unzipped content can be used from any of the folders. It's not mandatory to place it in C drive, but I do that. So it is a good practice to put that. Okay, just opening it up. Let it copy. So here you see a lot of folders available like Bing, Contrib, Dist, Docs, Example, License, Server. A lot of folders will be available here. Now, I was talking about these files. But let me just show you where those are. I need to go to Example. Sorry. I need to go to Server. And in Server, you can see another folder named as Solr. To go there, here you can see an XML file with the name Solr. This is of much use to us. Then we have config sets, where we have basic configs, data-driven schema configs, sample tech products configs. We'll go to basic configs, you'll have conf folder, and then you'll have schema, config. I'll show you it one by one. So first I'll show you what is XML file this is all about. This Solr XML file is actually which tells you a lot of things about this Solr. You have the content for this Solr Cloud as well. So we're going to change these things when we're going to work with Solr Cloud. For the meanwhile, we have this host, host port, host context by default, generic core, no names. This is the by default port on which Solr runs. You can change it from here, or you can change it. I would suggest keep it intact, and then we can change it while starting up the core of the Solr. We'll see how we can do that. Move ahead with the config set, basic config, configuration. We have the Solr config file. You'll see a lot of versions. See, this is the Lucian version, the underlying Lucian version under the Solr. Data directory, data, code factory, indexing, onto the indexing. There's a lot of stuff. We'll keep them intact for as of now, as it's the first class. We ultimately need to change a lot of settings in here but the moment we proceed ahead. We have filter cache, document cache, a lot of stuff. See, enable lazy field loading. Lazy field loading is very good. See, lazy field loading is, for an instance, let's say in a document you have 20 fields and there was a need to show only 3 fields. You wanted to just get 3 fields, but you cannot change the code. So you enable lazy field loading here, set it to true. And when you are using a query, in that query you look for the fields only that is going to be shown up. So the other fields will be lazily loaded. There will not be a hurry from the Solr. So it actually makes the search very fast. And query result window, how many documents will be there, maximum document that can be cached. Okay, there are a lot of things. So we'll look into them later. Then we have the schema. This is a very big file. Schema file. See, this schema is something which tells you that what type of fields you can store in a document in Solr. Because in Solr you have a document instead of a file, and you have a field instead of a column. So there are a lot of fields available. Like we can have an integer type of field. Its name must end by _i. Then we have a string type of field, _ss. This is an array. See, multi-valued. Multi-valued means this is an array of string type. The first letter tells you the type. The second letter tells you whether it's an array or not. If it is S, it's an array. If it is a single one, it's a normal string field. You can have the L, it's for long. You have text, you have English, EN, a lot of stuff. So we'll look into them when we create our own specific kind of document. And we'll move ahead. Okay. We have already seen those. Now why this is used? It's because it contains all the details about document structure, index time and query type processing, the schema one. You need to change that if you want to if you are facing any issues with the current running setup of Solr. Then we have Solr config.xml. It contains most of the parameters for configuring Solr itself. Of course, we have already seen that. We'll move ahead and then we'll finally come up to the Solr basic. Now, how to go ahead with it? Before we go ahead to the basics, we need to start the Solr. We need to run the Solr. So we'll see how to start that. Remember the folder where we copied? Yeah. C drive and the Solr. Okay. Now here you can see a bin folder. You need to go inside of this bin. Here you will see. We'll just explore it. Yeah, we can see Windows command script. It is actually a CMD file. What you need to do here is run a command prompt. You are here. Now you need to type Solr start. That's it. That's it. You don't need to do anything other than that. The moment you hit enter, it will say, see the default port number that I showed to you, 8983. This is the default port number. It is saying starting Solr on this particular port, and you can direct your web browser to this particular location to visit the Solr admin UI, the web UI that we were talking about. So let me just log into this particular UI, http://localhost. See, it's there. Okay. So this is the admin portal of Solr. This is where everything will be done. This is where you're going to go for the query. This is where you're going to stop the services. This is where you're going to start the codes and all, do a lot of stuff. It is showing you a lot of things as well, like the temp directory, the port, the configuration setting location, the install directory location, the time zone. It is showing a lot of stuff. Parallel GC threads. You know what is GC? For the garbage collection, right? For the GC. This is something which is done here. But right now, my document is, sorry, my Solr is empty. I don't have anything available in the Solr. So we're gonna see that very soon, how to work with Solr. Before that, there is a logging, and we have used log4j. If you are a Java guy, you know this. This log4j is used for the logging purpose, for the exceptions and errors that occurs while interacting with Solr. Also for the logging information as well. If you are a .NET guy, you can go use the log4net instead of log4j. Then we have information. These are the things which are there. Now what I'll do, for instance right now, I'll try to stop it. So what do you think? What should be the command to stop? If I say Solr stop, let me see. Should it stop? Oops, there's an error. It says you must specify the port number. Now why it is saying so? You remember when I said that you don't need to change the port number into the config file? It's because you can have a lot of multiple instances or multiple cores of Solr listening to multiple ports on a single machine. You can have a different Solrs running on a single machine, listening to different ports, catering to the requirements of specific type of request. So for that, I need to right now, either I can specify all. Let me just see. Yeah. Again, any key. If I start the Solr again, it has been started on the port number 8983. I need to stop this particular instance only. So what I'll do? Solr stop. There is a switch -P and then the port number. That's it. So you can stop it. Now let's say you don't want to use 8983. You want to use a different port number. So what will you do? You say like this. 89, okay, 8080. See? Now the Solr is available at this point. Let me just check. Can I see that? No. Why? Because the port number is 8983 and there is no core on port number 8980. Yep, I'm there. I changed that. I can stop it as well. Let me just stop it. So you can start, sorry, at the same mistake. 1B, 0, stop. Okay. Now the question comes that this is the starting and stopping of the Solr. Now the question comes that how can I work with Solr? We'll see that pretty soon.